Hey there, welcome to the new Lighthouse Human Design podcast with me, Corinne Elliott. And here we're going to be having some soulful conversations and solo musings of mine on all things spirituality, life, writing, entrepreneurship, and of course, human design. So we're here to discover who we came here to be here on this planet and to confidently become the highest, most authentic expression of ourselves. So I'm going to help you find out how you can do that. So go ahead and grab a cup of tea and join the journey. And also don't forget to subscribe here on iTunes. Today I want to talk about the 3 non-energy types, and that is the Manifestor, the Projector, and the Reflector. So if you listen to my last episode, you'll have a general overview of the 5 different types, and you'll know that 3 of them are the Manifestor, Reflector, and the Projector. And I want to talk about those 3 types in reference to sustainability in energy and kind of something that the 3 of those types tend to struggle with, but I want to put a positive spin on those those things, just so we have a better idea of how much of a gift it actually is to be one of those 3 types. And then on the next episode, of course, I'm going to talk about the gifts of being a generator and a manifesting generator. So just to begin with, I want to remind us that we are kind of in a world that has been built by and for generators. And the reason why is because generators and manifesting generators make up 70% of the population. So that's a pretty big amount of people. And so if you resonate with this idea that we've been taught to kind of go out and get what we want and just do it and make things happen, that's because we are in a world of 70% generators. However, with manifestors, reflectors, and projectors, we are not built for that. We are the other 30%. So we do have some gifts that come with that, though, and I'd like to tell you about that. So first, I want to kind of ask you if you're one of these 3 types, and you can find out what your energy type is by going to Jovian Archive. I will link that up in the show notes, of course. And you can discover what your type is. If you are one of these 3 different types, you might resonate with the idea that you're visionary, you have a lot of interests, you have hobbies, a lot of things that you come across that you become passionate about. You like to kind of dig and get educated about things. You kind of like to get in there and really do your research, or just to kind of be inspired and take action on those inspirations to self-express. And because of those kind of patterns, you might also feel like kind of you've been told maybe that you're flaky, or that you can't settle down, or you lose interest in things, or you can't follow through, and you just don't have, you need to get grounded, or you just need to buckle down and see things through and get things done. So that could be true for any of these 3 different types. It also could be true for a manifesting generator type. However, I'm going to address how this applies to the manifestor, the reflector, and projector. So the manifestor some of the strengths of the manifestor are that they are pretty energetic. They are pretty influential. You might see a lot of influencers that are manifestors. They tend to be really successful. They're pretty mysterious because people are kind of looking at them and seeing them do their thing, and they're like, wow, like that's pretty magnetic. Like what's going on over there, right? So these are some amazing strengths of the manifestor. And as far as projectors go, projectors are pretty magnetic as well. They tend to be very wise. They're really great at giving insight. They're intuitive. They're magnetic, and they can really, their strength is in being the lighthouse, to providing guidance and light for others, and to really help to get those who are trying to get something done to focus so that they can manifest what they want. And so reflectors, they are basically the mirror for society, for the community, for the collective. They're really passionate. They're super unique and rare. Reflectors make up a very small percentage of the population. It's 1% to 2% of the population. So if you've ever met a reflector, they're very interesting people. I've never met one in person, to be honest. But I know of a few that are just very good reflection of what's going on around them. It's super cool to watch. So they can be very idealistic. They idealize peace, which is amazing. We need that in this world. And they're just kind of an accurate depiction of what's going on, like as far as the health of society and their community and their collective. They're really sensitive. Their chart is all of their centers are completely open. They don't have any defined centers, so they take in a lot of energy from others, and that's why they're so able to reflect what's going on. So if you notice a theme between all of these things, all of these types, they're very visionary, and yet they don't necessarily have a sustainable energy source. So the main energy source that I'll talk about is the sacral energy. So when we have a defined sacral center, that's the center for working and getting things done and sustainability and follow through. None of these three types have the sacral center defined, so they don't necessarily have a sustainable source of energy. So this kind of comes back to, what do we do with all of these ideas and these visions and all this guidance and all of this inspiration that we have as one of these three different types? We can't have all of these ideas and lay the groundwork and get them started, and then also see them through all by ourselves. We can't buckle down and just get things done, right? So what do we do with that energy? What do we do when we have an idea or we have passion that we want to manifest? And even manifestors don't have this sustainable energy source, by the way. So what do we do? The ideal situation would be to delegate. It would be to hand off the work to someone like a manifesting generator or a generator who complements that energy, who has that sustainable energy source, that sacral energy, to follow through and get things done. And we're also giving them what they need, which is they need, in order to take action and to follow through, they need to respond to things. They need to see that there's a need in this world for them to respond to so that they can see it through. And so for us to have an idea and to give them something to respond to is a really cool way that we can rely on each other to manifest the things that we want to manifest in this world. So it's kind of like, visionaries like Steve Jobs or whoever invented the internet, or whoever invented the airplane, like I'm sure the Wright brothers didn't do everything themselves, because when we try to do everything ourselves, we burn out. Every type burns out when we try to do everything from beginning to end on our own, completely on our own. So as one of these 3 energy types, our job is to light ourselves up from within, to do what lights us up and brings us joy, to have interests and ideas and visions, and then to get the manifesting generators and the generators involved so that they can see things through to fruition. So this is like a beautiful co-creation between the different types, and it's just how our world is meant to work. So we're not meant to work, these 3 different types are not meant to work 9-to-5 jobs. They're not meant to work 12-hour day jobs because they don't have the energy for that. And we shouldn't feel bad about that. So I want to give you a resource, actually, because I think that it gives you permission to be the person that you came here to be, which is someone who has the wisdom and the guidance, or someone who has the visions and the idealism and the creativity to get things started. And it gives us permission to do that and to not feel bad about ourselves because we can't do it all and we can't finish it all. So if we're losing interest in something or we're burning out, it's because we weren't built for that. We weren't built to do everything on our own. So this resource I want to tell you about, and it doesn't have anything to do with human design actually, but I think it really goes really well with what I'm talking about here. So this book, it's called Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. And it's called Refuse to Choose. Use all of your interests, passions, and hobbies to create the life and the career of your dreams. So if you're like a serial entrepreneur, or you're multi-passionate, you can't figure out what in the world you want to stick with, please go and read this book, because she talks about, this idea of being a scanner. She calls these people that do this scanners. So she says they're fascinated by something new every week. They start many things but finish almost none of them. And they don't know what they should focus on. Because they think they should focus on one thing. And so it just kind of ties so well in with what I'm talking about here, and definitely go read that. It's called Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher, and I will link that up in the show notes so that you can take a look at that. So I would love to hear from you. Are you any of these 3 different types? Are you a manifestor? Are you a projector? Are you a reflector? Do you find yourself not really kind of knowing what your thing is? Do you feel like you get a lot of flack from people because they're like, can't you just buckle down and like do one thing? Can't you just niche? You should only be doing one thing and working with one type of person. And the one thing. You hear that everywhere, the one thing, especially if you're an entrepreneur, or if you are someone who went to college and you're expected to do what you studied to do, which almost no one does right now in this world. So you're not alone there. If you're any of that, I'd love to hear from you. So let me know by connecting with me on Instagram, and I will link that up in the show notes as well. I'm at the Instagram.com/thezenfem, and ask me any questions that you might have about these types, because I would love to answer your questions here on the podcast. And so the concept I'm really trying to drive home here is being a non-energy being, or non-sacral being is okay. And it's who we came here to be. So giving ourselves rest when we need rest, because we really need rest. These three types really, really need it. And working in a traditional way, in the I guess masculine kind of generator ruled way is not for us. It just isn't. And the way that we can be successful is to embrace our human design, utilize our strategy, our type and our strategy, to really get okay with ourselves, and to love ourselves, and to honor our energy. And when we have ideas and we have things that we want to see through, that we want to create, we can create amazing relationships with generators and manifesting generators to co-create those things. We're not meant to do it all alone. So those are my, I guess, my insights for today around being a manifestor, a projector, or a reflector. And definitely check out my last podcast if you haven't already, where I give a general overview of those 3 different types in addition to the other 2 types. And on the next episode, I'm going to be talking more about energy beings. So we'll be talking about the generators and the manifesting generators, and how they can thrive in this world. So thank you so much for joining me for this podcast, and don't forget to subscribe here and leave me a review, and I will see you on the next episode. Lots of love. Bye.